What if this is as good as it's ever going to get, and it is? It's not going to get better than this. Why not? Because you're going to get older and your body's going to run down.
Mm-hmm.
So what if this is the best moment ever? So how do you contact that you're happy? You have to stop telling, do the ego contraction of I'm not happy, I'm trying to get happy. So what if you were to notice right now? What would that feel like? Well, Al, I don't have any story about anything except I'm just sitting in the room with my beautiful daughter. I'm just happy for that. Isn't that wonderful enough?
Yeah. Yes.
Does there have to be a better moment in the future somehow? No. But that's what the ego is always doing.
Yeah.
It's always trying to arrive at some other permanent place where they're going to feel totally fulfilled. And all the evidence is in. Nobody cares. Everybody's telling their own story. They're not actually with you. They're not actually enjoying being with you. They're just telling a story about whatever they're mad about, whatever they feel entitled to that they're not getting fulfilled by. Well, what if you just said, why don't you shut up? You're fulfilled right now. Everything's perfect. We're together. Nothing's going on. There's no unhappiness, and there's nothing to get to now. Shut up and enjoy it for once.
That's awesome. Yes. Yeah.
They'll be like, what?
Okay.
You're giving me a problem. You're not letting me seek and be unhappy. How can I be happy if I can't be unhappy?
You're like, nope, that's not it. Let's try
That's
again.
the twisted philosophies of the ego, isn't it?
Yeah.
People have come up with that argument, believe me. It doesn't make any sense.
You're not letting me be upset.
Yeah, you're not letting me be upset. So, if life's not a destination, it's just a journey, then what's the journey about? Love, peace, truth. We don't have to invent any of those things. They are already the case if you notice. If you stop doing the away from it. The Beatles said give peace a chance. Well, did anybody give peace a chance? Not particularly, did they? You gotta give it. So that was a practice, right? If you practice peace, you will see that peace is already the case. If you practice war, peace seems so far away and you're never going to get to it. Right?
Yes.
So this practice is noticing enlightenment. All the time. I'm always trying to undo your sense of personal self, me trying to get somewhere and be fulfilled, trying to get happy by spirituality or the world or each other or your sex organs or whatever. I'm always trying to show you, no, back here, over here, locate here, be here, do the practice here. You do it here, it goes fast. You wander away most of the time, you get a little bit here and there. But to realize completely is waking up, never going back to struggling with the personal self, trying to get a personal self fulfilled. Always just abiding here now. Naked as the day you came into the world. It doesn't protect you from anything, enlightenment. But it's funny too because you outgrow everything. So all the games people play to hold you into their story, all the ways they want you to get bonded to them, get sympathetic to them and their terrible story of their own self-created suffering. All the drama, all the stories, all the books about suffering and characters and all the arts and all the movies and all the conflicts. If people just recognized true self, understood that their personal self was never going to be happy, that experience is not here to fulfill you, and to begin the true walkabout. And all the arts are about some conflict somebody's created, or somebody's helped created with them, or somebody put on them, and they have to get out of it so they can feel free again, or happier again, or somewhat loved again, or somewhat willing to love again. All that story. And none of it leads to enlightenment. They just will have another story and another story where their ego has to solve it again and again and again. And then they get old and their life's disappearing and what was this and who are they? And then the body-mind disappears. Oh, it's so scary. I don't exist anymore. But you're so old and decrepit by then that nothing hardly works and, it's just falling apart like an old piece of shitty car. So it's like, who wants to stay in that car forever, right? So you don't have any choice but to welcome the inevitable that you are not a personal self and you are now facing your extinction. But what if you always knew that you weren't a personal self? And you didn't play the game of trying to be made happy and fulfilled. And it wasn't your job to go out and find who you really are and be happy and be yourself. That it really was a big fat lie. That you didn't have to do any of that. But you do have to do something. And that's not agree with any of that. That's what you have to do. Not agree with any of that. And what does it take to not agree with any of that when all of humanity is participating in that fairy tale?
Conviction.
Yeah, conviction, practice,
Be
having
conscious.
others, being conscious when you're doing it and not doing it, participating and not doing it. So when people wake up, like you can never go back to having a personal self, and you outgrow all the motives of all humankind, of everyone who ever lived who was trying to get fulfilled and made happy by experience. You outgrow everything. That's waking up. So your job is to outgrow everything. You're not disciplining yourself, not using willpower. You're just looking at this whole ego game, this whole ego assertion, this whole game of trying to get fulfilled, this whole avoidance of the true reality of who you really are. And you look at that. You don't play that game anymore. And bam, you wake up. And you too will outgrow all of this. So enlightened people are not just people that have figured out how to win at experience. They don't win at anything. They're not losing either. They're just aware that they're awake and what this is. And what is it? I don't know why humankind's all brainwashed to believe this. Wake up and say, you'll be amazed at it too. Like, wow, why is everybody going around? Why can't they be love itself right now? Why are they trying to get somewhere? Where are they trying to get to? Well, we all know where we're getting to if you make it, old age and death. But some people don't even get that far, right? So what is it we're all so occupied with? Well, you could be occupied with waking up. You could be occupied with trying to get along and survive and trying to make that a game where you feel fulfilled. So Pat's the oldest in the room. She's played that game. Many other people have played that game. Just think of all the billions of people that have lived and died and played that game. And then every once in a while, there's someone awake shows up here and says, well, it's a game to play, it's the Matrix! Come on! Then a few people go, huh? What? And then somehow they feel that they can be here now. They can be themselves without going to try to get fulfilled or be special. And they want to take that energy of that enlightened person and say, wow, being awake is a trip. So how do I use that to make all this work out? Well, the world's a dreaming place, and people are dreaming mostly through their lower nature. That's why there's all this kind of genocides and wars and abusive people and selfishness and really rich people and then really poor people, and people don't have anything they need, and people have way too much. That's why all this. It's a dreaming vortex. And most people don't want to give up their idea, so they want to be fulfilled by it. But I think life just is humbling, don't you think?
Mm-hmm.
It's best to get humbled, do this practice, wake up. So what you think you're starting off as some wonderful event you're trying to create or trying to go towards, it actually really starts from, I'm not fulfilled, I want something to fulfill me. And then you start fantasizing it, start creating it. You're the creator of it. You invent it, you invent a need for it, you get all the ideas, how this is going to get going, you put a lot of emotion into it. You read all your events in your life, like how's that person going to help me with this? Or is that person not going to help me with this? Or who should I call? What should I do? Right? It's all that strategy you have, right? So what if you weren't going to dream yourself? What if you weren't going to dream your happiness anymore? What if you're just going to be here? What would you have to face to be here?
You're vulnerable.
You're vulnerable and that you don't really exist. That's the big, when everybody says, well, she's a phony, he's a phony, because everybody is. And the person who's saying they're a phony and not a phony is a phony too. Because there really is no personal one. If you look at a forest, how many forests do you know all the personal trees as separate ones and know all about them, each their stories? You're laughing at the trees.
Just the Einstein tree. I only know that. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Well, you all act like your individuality is really unique, and your impulse to be happy and made happy and pursue happiness is a special God-given, incredible gift that you must pursue and must be fulfilled. And you keep measuring, why isn't it getting fulfilled? And you're getting more unhappier and unhappier because it's not going that way. What way is it going? Back hurts, your daughter doesn't talk to you, and you haven't got a raise in 5 years, the weather's been so cold and rainy. That's the way it's going, isn't it? Why is it going that way? Because that's the way experience goes. It doesn't go any other way. Everything about experience is sacrifice. And it's sacrificing your energy, isn't it? And for some people, there's sanity as well. Right? And anything else experience requires of you? Your energy, your time, sometimes your sanity.
Your whole body.
Yeah, sometimes your whole body, sometimes your dignity. A lot of times your preferences. You have to sacrifice your preferences.
Your comfort.
Yeah. Imagine if you got everything you want, what a big blob of boring nothing you would be.
Big pile of shit.
Big pile of selfish shit.
Make it more
What if the lower nature was just allowed to do whatever it wants? And everybody said, excuse me, I'm going to let my lower nature do whatever it wants. And the person said, me too. I don't think there would be any bodies that would still be alive in the room by the end of the day.
Big Jerry Springer show.
Yeah. The people that don't believe and love the most are counting on the people who do and want to live love. Otherwise, it would just be complete insanity here every single second. So the practice is recognize and release the self-contraction. What is the self-contraction? It's the activity of dreaming yourself apart from who you actually are to get fulfilled. That's why when musicians or when anybody falls into a place where you're just like at one with the universe or whatever they say about it, you feel like everything is completely capable and right and true in that moment. But that moment is always the case It's not somehow you arrived there and now you got to duplicate some strategy to get back there. It's not that. You just have to see that you keep inventing an identity apart and away from that. But that involves real conscious process, not just hearing this once, being happy about what I'm saying, or somehow having a glimpse of it. You really have to participate. And with a culture with others who are participating. Because you can go around and say a lot of cool stuff, and then be with somebody and go, that guy's on the worst ego trip. Jeez. He thinks he's so spiritual. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So it's tested always. So you don't just get it once. Then you create a little book about it, a little shrine around it. You have to live it. It has to undo you completely. How do you know when you're completely undone? When there's no assertion of a separate self anymore. How do you know it? Same way you know that you're a woman and you're a man.
Mm-hmm.
Same way. You just absolutely know, because why? How do you absolutely know it?
Self-authenticating, I would think your heart just...
Because you're not going out looking to get happy by everything. You have outgrown everything. So you said, oh, I have this musician's ego and I want to be admired, and sometimes I just put that out there and I make people endure that, and then it's all uncomfortable and I'm out of relationship with everyone. You stop doing that.
Yeah.
Wherever you asserted your ego. I want to be the leader and I want to save the world and make everyone feel and get along with each other. When you stop doing all that, then you see the world as what? As it is. And what is it? Perfect. Until people dream something else and act on those dreams. Yeah. You don't have to invent the good stuff. You just have to stop doing the bad dreaming. So when he didn't say, let's invent peace and then give it a chance. No one said, let's invent love and then give it a chance.
Good is good.
Yeah.
Good is good. You don't have to do anything about it. You just have to stop doing whatever's not recognizing that. So you remember when you were younger and you started out in life and you said, and everyone told you this philosophy. Somehow, even though you're just ordinary, and we treat you ordinary, and nobody gives a shit, and get in line, and obey all the rules, and better do good at school, and then you get a good job, and get a husband because you're a woman, then get kids because that'll make you happy, and dedicate all your time and energy to making sure they grow up and get them happy. That's what you're going to do. Doesn't that sound wonderful? And you all thought it was so good. You thought, wow, life seems so amazing. And then you start going down the journey of trying to do all that, and it gets so complicated so fast. And then one day you're just sitting in the woods and you're like, oh, this feels like a big burden trying to do all this. Oh, what am I going to do? It's not working out with my boyfriend and my job. I got to get more money. I can't pay my rent. Oh, what if I was famous and rich? That would take care of all my problems. Look at all the famous rich people. They have absolutely no suffering ever. And then somewhere along the line, you're like, oh, here's a book about an enlightened person. Oh, that's so bullshit. Oh, yeah, that's so bullshit. Well, maybe we should read some of it. Oh, it's so bullshit. It's so bullshit. Because the ego can't decide for enlightenment. Enlightenment chooses you. That's why you're so lucky.
Yeah.
Because you would never choose enlightenment as an ego. You would choose to try to get fulfilled in experience again and again. Right?
Yes.
Yes.
Guaranteed.
So somehow enlightenment chose this vehicle and chosen these vehicles to show enlightenment. Enlightenment is really into enlightenment, but not so much so that it's going to choose everyone in the world at this point. Although it's not against that either, you know, this hasn't shown anything like that yet. So here you are. Hopefully there's some other people in a room with someone who's awake, Also presenting the same relationship. Hopefully. Hopefully there's many. Hopefully somewhere in time there'll be billions. But it's not right now, as we know. Everybody's heavy into the dream of the lower self. The body-mind apparatus being dominant and fulfilled by that dominance. So not only do people want to be happy, they want to be the most special one now. It's really a big ego trip. We're being the most special one at something, or being recognized as the most special one, is very important for people's pursuit of their happiness. It's very important. But when you look at everybody, you go, why is that person so special? You ever see a famous person, you thought they had a great life and they had no suffering? And you go, wow, they just look like everybody else. What makes them so great? Nothing. Nothing. They're not great. They just aren't. They're just part of our life, our circumstance. That's why we value the same way. Forest can't just be one tree. It's a family of trees. We're a family of womankind and mankind. We'll just call it womankind now. We don't have to call it mankind. Men know they're included, right, in womankind? After all,
Woman.
you came from us, from our bodies.
It does make sense.
Everything makes sense.
Yes.
Amazing.
It's amazing. We all love being women. It's so cool. No one's a woman, no one's a man. So why not love being a woman if you're a man? And if you're a woman, why not love being a man? Why not? Since we're not either any of that. So we can enjoy all aspects, all possibilities, because that sometimes men need to act like women, the qualities of women. Sometimes women need to act like men. We're not all that separate in our functioning at all. And our generation and this period has proved that, because women can have any jobs that men have, and men can actually do childhood, be at-home dads. Whoa! Why would they want to? The same reason, why would a woman want to stay at home? Unless you really want to. Whenever you feel yourself pacing the cage and saying, what can I go out there in the world and somehow try something and get fulfilled, because what? I'm not fulfilled. Well,
Because I am somebody.
I am somebody, I need to be fulfilled. Whenever you see that logic, that's the culture logic. That's the logic of the ego I of these times. And so then you start having your secrets, going out and doing stuff. And then before you know it, you get some ego kind of friction with other people, and people are like, something's off, something's wrong. Right? And they go, what's up with you? You don't feel like you're here. So whatever you want to do, even as a spiritual aspirant, even though you're committed to your enlightenment, if you have something you want to pursue as an independent I, apart, you can. But I recommend not secrets. Because if it's not a secret, right, what can happen?
Get purified.
You can get purified, you can understand it, you can see it, or it could be part of what needs to happen here.
Yeah.
You know, somebody might get a new skill or something and come back, you know, pursue that skill, right? And everybody knows about it, and it's not a secret, and then that person says, I can use the skill, and then people say, well, how did you know how to do that? Right? It won't be a surprise. So with that kind of trust, see, the ego is always in its own little corner trying to seek out its happiness, and it really can't divulge most of it. Why? Because somebody else might steal your great ideas. And there'll be more competition in the market of wherever you're going to get fulfilled. So you don't tell your girlfriend the cutest guy is going over here. You're like, oh, I'll see you later. Oh, bye-bye. Oh, I'm going to go there now. And then the girlfriend is like, where were you? Oh, nowhere. Then they're like, why are you acting so weird? I'm not acting weird. You're acting weird. You're acting weird. You've seen all the tricks, right? On endlessly. All right. And everyone here is here for the right reason. No one's here for the wrong reason. Because you wouldn't be here if you were here for the wrong reason. Enlightenment chose you. You didn't choose enlightenment. Because you don't exist. You can't choose anything. And as you work with the automatic dreaming pattern of your ego I, you can see that you don't choose anything, right? Like, why do I keep doing the thing that hurts me?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And you're like puzzled by that, right? Isn't that puzzling? Like, here's the same stupid thing I do that just causes me like ego, embarrassment, and suffering, and here I'm doing it again. You know, oh, I'm so embarrassed. Oh no, not this again, right?
Yes.
So, enlightenment is trying to struggle with waking you up. But you are doing this pattern of you. And that pattern of you has nothing to do with enlightenment. It has to do with this idea that if you chase down something, some experience in life, you're going to get made happy by it. And you want to believe that people are richer or handsome or have some success are having a life with no suffering. You want to believe that. It's not true. They're all really suffering. So many things that you're suffering. So does success take away suffering? No. What takes away suffering?
Understanding.
Understanding. Yeah. Recognizing, releasing the self-contraction. If you outgrow how you create suffering for yourself, then you won't create it anymore. You won't dream that dream anymore. So it takes a while for this to stabilize, because if you were to actually directly understand and your ego I was dead, your body would just completely drop, or right before this understanding fully manifested, you would go crazy. So you have to get used to being enlightened for a while. As you can see, what you tend to do is what? Ego I. You don't tend to outgrow everything, to not participate as the ego. You tend to participate as the ego. You remember growing up, like say being in high school or college or at work, or there's always the better people, the more special people, and you're always trying to fit into them, or somehow they got the answers and they're doing something better, and you're just flailing around, and you're not handsome enough or pretty enough or smart enough or rich enough or from the right background, or you're too Mexican, or you're too white, or you're too black, or you're too something. You know, and you're always like, oh, if only I had the perfect life where all this was lined up. There's no such thing. But you always act like there was. And I remember, what's the best line to say to a woman to make sure she wants to have sex with you? There is no special line. You know, there is no special people in high school or at your job. There is nothing like that. Everyone is suffering. Everyone suffers. Everyone is suffering. And particularly, they're all suffering their ego I.
Yeah.
Everyone's suffering being themselves. What a joke, isn't it? Fortunately, enlightenment is not really cruel, because it always comes and manifests and says, come on, come on. Why did it go this way? Why does everybody believe in the separate one?
Just the pattern.
Just went this way.
Pattern,
Yeah. No one says, why does the sun have to come out every day?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. No one says, why does the earth spin around the planet, the sun? Why does that have to happen? Well, you could say that, but you don't really want to say that, because you're just glad it is happening. So for most people, they're somehow glad they are a separate one, right? But there's one irritating thing about being a separate one. You just don't get fulfilled! There's suffering! So you have to make sense of that impulse to get fulfilled, to be happy with that life, and everyone you know will suffer. You have to make sense of that. All right, so we're old. So we figured it out. You figured out something. Enlightenment chose you. Enlightenment's not giving up on you yet. You have to walk away and say, I'm done with this shit. None of you have yet, so some of you have, but not all of you are in this room. And some people should be in this room, and they will come into this room. So enlightenment's not done. It's never done until everyone is enlightened. That's the destiny of every living being, is to be enlightened. Enlightenment is bigger than everything. That's the purpose of everything and everyone and all in all times. So all this death and all this rebirth, and if you believe in that, and all this coming and going, all these games, all these dreams about trying to get happy, about all this cruel, lower nature, crappy dreams that get manifested. Enlightenment. Stop that in a second. None of it has to occur. None of it. Consciousness doesn't need this. But since you're here as this form, you need to become aware. You need to wake up. You need to be consciousness.